release rules in the morning.
The requests were pretty constant. I mean, that audience knew we had some local talent here that was getting a chance to shine. And just by virtue of wanting to hear it, they were helping promote the heck out of it, because every time it got played, you know, it was more and more people calling in.
Mama's Pride was a fabric of this city. I didn't know a whole lot about them till they did get their record deal. I knew they were popular in town, and once the stuff came to the studio, I said, these are local guys?
They still had a local band connotation, but they had a strong connection with St. Louisans.
The damn horse died before I could get him home. The red sun setting on Missouri skyline.
Country rock was huge. Charlie Daniels of the world, and you know, all those types of things, and the Allman Brothers, of course, being the leader of that whole pack. And they had that sound. They had that sound with the dual guitars, the Southern boogie-woogie styles. They had the look.
That was back when radio was radio, you know. There was no knucklehead in Atlanta that was programming everything for 200 stations. They weren't playing hits from however many years ago.
We'd get our acetates, our test pressings from the album, and fly back to St. Louis and go out to Casey and give it to whoever was on. We'd go, hey man, we got this new acetate. Yeah, we're gonna finish this song. Next song, what we're gonna do next is listen to a side of Mama's Pride's new album. Bingo, throw it right on. You know, you gotta love that.
This part of the country managed to be a magnet for just about anything. Southern music made it here. Country music was big here. Rock and roll was big here. Blues was big here. It wasn't just nailed into one little genre, you know.
This was a time where the road map hadn't been created yet. The rules hadn't been completely made. We were the only real rock station on FM at the time. FM was brand new for rock music.
I mean, imagine being an artist and walking into a studio every night with a blank easel, and you painted with music. That's what it was like. And there had to be, 8, 10, 12,000 albums in that studio that you just had total control over whatever you wanted to do. And if it was a rainy night, it was a nice mellow night, you could play whatever you wanted that way. If you felt like playing hard-ass rock and roll, you could, there was no method in the madness at all. It was just totally free-form, play whatever you want. You didn't really have to advertise it. The music did it for itself. I mean, the people that were listening back then would listen for hours on end, sometimes days on end. I think there were some of them probably too stoned to find the off button.
I mainly paint by myself. Painting is something that pays the bills. It's not something that I've gone, man, I'd love to expand on this and hire 4 or 5 more painters. It's amazing how many musicians you run into at paint stores. I think it's the creative process. You come in as a painter and you slap some paint on the walls. 4 hours later, they're going, "Oh, look what you've done!" So it's still kind of a cool thing. It kind of gives you a little bit of a stroke for your ego, I guess. Get a lot of time to be creative. A lot of songs came out of paint jobs. Right now, I've got my next record's done because I wasn't able to be down there when they were mixing it. So I've been able to bring the CDs that they FedEx me with the different mixes to work with me, put them on a CD player, and I mean, if I was at home, there's no way I could listen to these things for 8 hours. I was painting down at MS Broadcasting, and they were playing one of our songs on Casey. It's a classic, I guess. Did you ever know the kid named Pigpen down there? He came up and wanted to know if it was strange to me that they were playing one of our songs on the radio while I was painting their studios. But I was like, not really, because I'm making more money doing this than I was when I was doing that. Ray Charles, Little Richard, Sam Cooke, Otis Redding. That was everything I loved. Little Richard, I still see people go, well, the king of rock and roll. To me, that's Little Richard. He wrote them, he sang them. Him, Sam Cooke, guys like that. They were groundbreaking. I remember when Cream first came out. I liked them, but and today people will go, hey man, you know this song by? If it's a white group, I'll go. If I haven't heard it on the radio, I probably have never had the record.
Years ago, I was with a group. They were originally called the Bondells, and then they changed their name to the Soulful Illusions. And they had 5 singers up front and a horn section. I was the only white kid in the band, and we used to play down at Gaslight at the Gilded Cage. We went to Oklahoma one time to play at a college, and the drummer, I don't know, he got arrested for child support, or I don't know what it was. It was something stupid. And Danny was like 14, but could play drums and watched us all the time. They actually took him with us at 14 years old, and he did the show. He played there and sounded good,
There was always such a great diversity of music. Oliver Sane was playing back then, Marcel Strong and the Apostles. I mean, it was either black groups or white guys wanting to be black.
Me and him were playing in a soul band for a long time. It was called the Belltones, and then after that was Doc Savage.
That's when we became psychedelic, though.
Yeah.
Well, when Danny and Max and we started the band, and really we had a little bit of an R&B flavor, not Southern rock at all. I mean, at all. But we did have 3 guitars. When we wrote the song Old St. Lou, we had all these guitar riffs. And Ahmet Ertegun was the first one to say something when he came to Florida to see us the first time to what eventually was going to be signed by him. And he heard Old St. Lou. He came up after it, and he had this real gravelly voice, and he said, say man, those guitar parts, he says, those are horn riffs. I looked at him and I said, yeah. Because I knew we did this, they're all old horn riffs from whatever songs, Well, he picked up on it right away because, he's Ahmet Ertegun. The god of Atlantic Records. He found Ray Charles. The guy knew all those riffs, So that was, even when we did the guitar harmony, sometimes they would turn themselves into a horn riff or something. Because for me and Max and Danny, this was the first band we'd ever been in that didn't have horns. There was always horn players.
For everybody, maybe other than Dickie, Mama's Pride was the first all-white band any of us ever played in. So we brought all the stuff that we gathered from all these R&B bands, and because by that time we'd gotten where we all liked rock stuff, like I said, people like the Allman Brothers and Mountain, different groups like that. So we brought our R&B roots and tried to put a little bit more of a rock edge on it.
Come on, Old St. Lou.
First off, out of the chute, the woman in the picture is not my mother. Danny and I's mom is who the band was named after. But Atlantic had said they were going to make fun. They were going to make her look goofy. And I was like, no, you ain't doing that to my mom, So they brought, Gertrude Marks was her name. She was a former weather lady, and she'd done some modeling, older lady kind of modeling, So she came in, and they did have her doing all this goofy stuff and making these faces, and it was really dumb, But they liked the expression on my face, the sarcasm on my face. Well, she doesn't look stupid in that picture. So my mom's sister, she's got 4 of them, Oh, God, they were all over me. Why didn't you use your mother? I said, they was going to make fun. I said, that's not making fun. I said, I know that's not. I said, but all the other... And I couldn't convince them, so I was in trouble for years because of that. And that's the one question I think I fielded more than any other question about the album, is that your mom on the front?
I think that we thought that the dance would go on forever, and that no matter what we did, it wasn't going to go away. And it wasn't like we had a sense of entitlement. I guess it was just stupidity. I think it was almost like surreal. We came out of South St. Louis. My brother and I grew up in apartment buildings, and next thing we know, we're pulling up in front of 461 Ocean Boulevard.
Eric Clapton's album 461 Ocean Boulevard, that's like a band house that he stayed in, and that's where we stayed when we did this. So that in itself is cool. You were always getting girls knocking at the door asking if Eric was there, so he put his address on the front of an album cover,
And the maids come out and they're going, oh, you must be the Mama Pride boys. We're like, yeah. Where do we pull? Oh, this is your home for the next month. No, this is Eric Clapton's home. no, Eric stays here, but this will be your home for the next month. It was like, what? You know, click your heels together.
That kind of stuff can turn your head. You know, I mean, it was easy to not focus as much on the music when you got all that stuff going on around you. You know.
You know, we were young, man. We just didn't get it. You know, we didn't even know who Ahmet Ertegun was. You know, when he signed us, you know, it was like this huge thing in the record business, and I kept calling him Abdul. I mean, I couldn't get his name right. And just the nicest man. He was very fatherly. Ahmet turned around one day after, you know, because he knew I wasn't doing it to, why would I diss this guy? He just signed us to a record deal. He turns around and goes, "That's all right, kid. Otis Redding used to call me Omelet, so you're in good company." I was like, there. Doesn't get much better than that.
I do regret a little bit my own mindset at the time, because I just, you know, I loved music. I played music all my life. My family was musical. I mean, that's, you know, we lived it all our lives. But I think there was a side of me that just, I really wanted to be famous. I wanted to be somebody, you know. And I think sometimes it overshadowed the music for me, you know. I didn't pay that much attention in the studio. I mean, I did, but, you know, I just wanted to get it done and get out there and tour and play and, you know, party and you know, do what I'd always wanted to do.
We were around the biggest names in the music industry and had no flipping idea. We had a meeting one time at 461, and here was Arif Mardin, Tommy Dowd, Ahmet Ertegun, and Eric Kronfeld, four of the biggest names ever in the music industry, discussing how, you know, what we were going to do once we hit the big time and preparing us for it. You know, we're like, yeah, that'd be nice. Hey, so anyway, you want to go out tonight? And, you know, I mean, just, you know.
Criteria Studios, there was always people walking in, and I remember the one time I was supposed to do an overdub on a lead, and Eric Clapton walked in, and I said, "I'll just wait."
We were in the studio one night, and I had to cut a vocal on a song called "Kind Loving Woman," and I got waxed, just tore up, and I mean, I'm just a horrible vocal. So the next day, Arif comes in, and Arif always carried a distinguished, you know, presence, and he goes, "Dan, why don't we listen back to this vocal?" I'm like, "We did a vocal?" "Yes. Why don't we listen to it?" I'm thinking, man, if I don't remember it, how good can this thing be? You know, maybe it'll be one of those magical things. It wasn't. It was horrible. So he's playing it back, and I went, "Oh, okay, I get it. Let's cut this again." He goes, "No, I think we should listen to it all the way through." And I'm like, oh God. And I remember Joe Walsh and the guys from the James Gang were passing through the studio, wanted to say hi to Arif, and this thing's playing, and I'm like, you know, I mean, I probably lied and went, "My brother Pat, man, when's he gonna learn?" You know, it's like I was taking no blame for this vocal. But after it was over, Arif goes, "Have you heard enough?" I'm like, dear God, if I heard enough the first 20 seconds. He goes, "I want you to be aware of something. You have been given a great privilege. I pray that you treasure it and you treat it for the privilege that it is." And I was like, yeah, all right, I will. Well, that was a lie. I was the same shape that night, you know. I wish we would have taken it a lot more serious, not taken it for granted. I heard a pastor say one time, he said, I think it was like 5 F's. He said, whatever fires you up, whatever, there was 4 other ones. And they all began with F. But the bottom line was, we've all got purpose here. We've all got a dog in this fight. And I mean, I'm encouraged by that. Because here I am at the age of 55. I'm not smart enough to work a record deal. But God always knew it was my passion. It's something that He put inside me. And He's put something inside everybody. Out of the darkness, into the light. I once was blind, Lord, you gave me sight. I once was lost, but now I am found. You put my feet
same man I used to be.
It was a pretty gradual thing. I knew my life needed to change because I had a pretty heavy substance abuse problem. My father died when I was 7 from cirrhosis of the liver. So I knew I was headed the same way, but I didn't know what to do. Every time I tried to quit drinking, I'd just switch alcohols. I was on a rooftop in South St. Louis. It was like, people go, my life passed before my eyes. Well, mine did, because I realized I was so out of control and there was no turning back, that the end result was going to be I was going to die at a young age. So I literally got on my knees on this rooftop and I said, God, I don't see a way out. I don't know what to do about this because I can't quit. And, the bells didn't go off and there wasn't any angels or lightning or anything. It wasn't necessarily very profound, just that I admitted to myself that I had a problem. And so I went home that night. My wife had been going to church. I'd go periodically with her, and I had this big afro and tattoos and stuff, and it was before tattoos were chic. And so I'd sit up front with her, and I'd stare and just snarl at this preacher. And this night he walks out and he goes, hey, before we get started here, God wants somebody to know something here. And I'm thinking, oh, great. This has got to be about money. And he goes, it's in this group of people right here. He says, I'm not going to embarrass you. He said, but you need to know something. Well, I look around and it's all my wife's church friends, and I'm thinking, oh, this should be fancy. And he goes, when you prayed about your drug and alcohol addiction, and you told God you don't see a way out. But he wants you to know, if you trust your life into his hands, he'll show you the way out. Well, I didn't tell any, people go, well, did you tell your wife that? It's like, no addict goes home and goes, I was praying on a rooftop this morning. I mean, they'd had you committed. So I knew the only person that could have heard it would have been G.O.D. And when this guy came out and told me what I prayed on that rooftop, it freaked me out. But I'm an Irish guy. It took me 2 years to come to that point. Most people go, oh, so you quit drinking that night? It's like, oh, no. I went home and drank 13 beers at the bar and kept telling myself that stuff doesn't happen. And it especially doesn't happen to me. We did a show in Springfield with Skinner. So a couple of them had quit using altogether, and the other ones had scaled back. So there was a much saner attitude there. So we met Ronnie Van Zant before we went on. And for the first time, we really felt like, here's somebody that gets it. And I mean, there was like this connection, like we had known him for years. I don't know, I can't even describe it. I mean, but there was a bonding. And so we get done with the show and we come back, because he had talked to us about producing the third album. And when we came back, he was, yeah, we're going to do this third album, boys, and we're going to make it smoking hot. He said, now when we're done with that, I'll let you guys pick up the second leg of the Street Survivors tour. Well, we had been playing with guys like Charlie Daniels, Marshall Tucker, the Outlaws, periodically somebody like Stephen Stills or Alice Cooper, but that wasn't like ongoing dates. The ongoing dates we had for the most part were 3,500 to 5,000 seat auditoriums. Well, Skinner was doing 20,000 to 50,000, outdoor stadiums, that kind of stuff. So all of a sudden here's the thing we've been waiting to hear forever, and I think all of us felt like our boat has come in. This is going to be a beautiful thing. And when that plane went down, it had to be one of the lowest points, I think, for all of us, because our hopes were so high. It was like, man, I mean, we were sitting in a bar, a place called the Waterhouse, down on the lower edge of Dogtown, and we heard that on it came over the television, and it was Charlie Daniels was playing here that night. And we were all just like, I mean, it was like, we give, we're done, we're out of here, it's over.
Not only did we lose a newfound friend who was really going to help us and help our career, and, it ended everything, because Atlantic dropped us then. And like I said, disco was really coming on strong, and everybody was being dropped. Everybody. And then Van Morrison got dropped the week before we did. I thought, my God, if they're dropping him, we don't stand a chance. And then once you lose that deal, if you were a Van Morrison and you lost your record deal, you get another one. You're Van Morrison. But if you're Mama's Pride, who didn't really have a hit record, and you lose your record deal. It's like you're no longer Virgin anymore, and it's like people aren't interested, you know. Especially with the way music was going after that. They just weren't interested in what we did.
Hoping for the morning rain to fall upon my face, so that it will erase the teardrops in my eyes.
I got away from it from 82 to 94, you know, and it just raised a family, and it saved my voice. I can sing parts now just like I could 25, 30 years ago, and I think part of it is because I got away from it, you know, and let myself rest. I started playing again in 94, acoustic stuff with like a duo, and then a couple of years later I got into my heritage, which is Irish, and I started getting into Irish music a lot. And for about 3.5 years, I played at McNulty's Irish Pub in Westport and did pretty much just my stuff and Irish stuff. And really what I had said before about in the studio, how I didn't take things serious enough, I'm not sure I got it. I don't know. I was stupid. I just didn't understand the whole thing and how it worked. And maybe I didn't have the ears for it then, whereas now I hear stuff better now than I used to, and in a different way, and I really enjoy doing my own stuff. I like the input of other people. I like that chemistry. That I miss that a little bit sometimes as far as a group. But doing it this way, you're allowed to do anything you want. You know, I've not given it up, and it's still my passion. It may even be more of my passion now. You know.
As a musician, you always want to make a difference when you write something. You're trying to convey a message. And like a lot of our old stuff was all about heartache and heartbreak and love lost. And people used to say we were the most depressing band they'd ever heard. Good band, but depressing. I had some songs that I had written for Mama's Pride that just the message is a little warped, you know. And used to have people come up and go, you know, man, I live my life by that song. And I'd go, no, don't do that. Yeah, I wrote that song as a joke. That's not a serious philosophy. And the cool thing is now the songs that I write are songs that deal with the struggles that I've been through, but being able to come out on the other side of them. You know, that nobody is immune to difficulties. But I feel like I have found a source that helps me through my troubles. You know, one of the things that used to bum me out is I'd hear musicians became Christians, and all of a sudden it was like they felt like they had to start playing country music. You know, and they were rock guys, and it was like, God live in Nashville? What's up with this? So one of the things that I really set my mind to is I didn't feel like I needed to change anything except my lyrics. If I can convey that message to somebody and keep them, restore some hope in their life and make them feel like the light at the end of the tunnel isn't an oncoming train, that's pretty cool. You know, it's like I told people, my passion has finally found a purpose for me. You know, I feel good about it at the end of the day. I think that's the difference once you get older. You really start doing it for the love of what you do, as opposed to, you know, like my drummer said, it's not anymore. It's not about what you get, it's what you can give. And it's like, you know what, man, if you still like what I'm doing after all these years, I'm the most grateful guy in town, you know. I sold everything but one guitar. Getting sober was the thing that got me my passion back. Towards the end, I thought the only reason I liked music was because it gave me a cheap excuse to get a buzz. I'll never forget the first night I sat in with a band called Acousticity, and it was my first time sober. And my first thought was I need to get a shot of whiskey. And I was like, wait a minute, I can't. I'm supposed to be sober. Those two don't go together. And I played better, and I sang better. All the things that I thought I needed booze and dope for, to make me better, I was much better, like head, hands, and feet better sober. I don't want to be viewed as a has-been. I do what I do because I'm passionate about what I do. I'll keep chasing passions and dreams. I'm never going to buy into it's time to grow up. This is as grown up as Danny gets. You know. My solo thing that just came out, musically, is more to what Mama's Pride really is in their heart of hearts. And because I used some of the guys on it. They came down and sang some stuff on it and did a little bit of playing. But I realized it's not too late. This is kind of our second chance. This is kind of like redemption. And I think there's still a lot of gas left in the engine. And I'd like to use it up.
I know they have a real good time with it. It's a lot of fun for them. It's a fair amount of prep work for them, and they have to pull, one or two people from out of town type of thing. So it's logistically, it can be something of a challenge for them. The audience is basically their audience from back in the 70s. And so we try to target like a Friday or Saturday night and try to target a good time of the year where people will have a couple days off either leading up to or afterwards, so that they've got a little bit of rest and recovery time. This is an audience that 30 years ago could probably do this 5 nights a week, but 30 years later, 30 years older, kids who very well may be out of the house by that point, but they can still fire it off every now and then, but it's not something they can do regularly.
We've passed from the stage that there's like you're a current artist, you're a fading artist, you're a has-been, and then you turn 50 and all of a sudden they start calling you retro. You're a retro artist. Like a landmark or something like that. It's like, that sounds better than has-been.
How long you been listening to Mama's Pride? These guys are old, man. I tell you what, they may look like Elvis Presley the Listen Brothers, but damn, they sound good. Put your hands together. Welcome to Pride of St. Louis, Mama's Pride. Yeah, we wrote this song about you all.
Such a long time, seen 1,000 different road signs, can't count the places that we've been to, not know tomorrow where we're going to. We're not traveling for the you must be funny. All the music that we do, we're just doing it for you. yeah. 50 is still ticking.